This is how we spend our Sundays now. It's become quite the tradition. Spend a few hours in bed reading the papers, and then we come down here. The papers always have something, a review of a book, or a CD, or a recipe. Even the bits that don't look like adverts are adverts, really. They're not really newspapers, more like catalogues. Anyway, that's our mission for the day then. Go to Green Oaks and get that thing that we need. What Was Lost is about a little girl called Kate Meany who's growing up in the 1980s and who thinks she's a detective. She spends all her time at the local shopping centre obsessively noting down goings-on until she herself disappears one day. I was working in a very large shopping centre. I just found it a very extreme environment, really, very polarised. And I found that I started writing little notes about it in the evening when I'd get home, just for my own purposes, really, so I could try and remember it in years to come. And then one day a security guard I worked with told me a story about another guard who'd seen an image of a child on the CCTV monitors in the middle of the night, and this child was never found. And both I and the security guard were completely spooked by this story. It kind of obsessed me a little bit. I started wondering who was this child and why did a security guard see her? And that was the start of it really changing from just notes to a novel. I think there's something about that shopping centre, which is kind of a character in itself in the book, that casts a certain darkness over all of it. It's this slightly malevolent centre that everything else rotates around. I used to find it quite eerie leaving the shop at night and walking through the centre with no one around and the music turned off, but knowing that the surveillance was still there, the cameras were still running. There are these control rooms where bored security guards sit and stare at these 36 or 48 screens all day, each showing fairly dull images of people wandering around not knowing what to do with themselves. And I find this idea of bored people, watching bored people, to be something that I wanted to write about. I think a lot of the main themes in the book really are to do with loss. A lot of the characters, as I say, have lost their way in life. And also there's that idea of, when we're young and we have a lot of sense of direction and energy and purposefulness that sometimes gets lost along the way. Obviously Kate herself gets lost, as does her toy monkey. And then there's the loss also of the landscape, really, that kind of industrial wasteland. And I think a lot of people would think of that landscape as quite grim and bleak. But for me, I'm incredibly nostalgic for it. I miss it. I remember it as the playgrounds I used to have, where I'd invent all kinds of games. It's this freedom that perhaps children don't have so much now.